Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives at our very first Faith Spotlight. And I am excited today that our first guest is Dr. Mirian Ofonedu, who is the Director of Training at the Kennedy Krieger Institute here in Baltimore, Maryland. And she also is a professor at the Bloomberg School of Public Health for Johns Hopkins University. Good afternoon, Dr. Ofonedu. We are just delighted to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for agreeing to be our very first Spotlight of Faith for the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives.
Thank you, Dr. Hargrove. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to get right to it. Can you start off by just telling us what the history and mission and vision is for Kennedy Krieger Institute?
Hi. The Kennedy Krieger Institute mission and vision, especially the Maryland Center for Developmental Disabilities, is to provide leadership that advances inclusion of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as other disabilities.
Okay.
In our society, in our community, and that includes the faith community.
So tell us a little bit about the special program that you have, the Faith Community Learning Collaborative.
Yes, so the Maryland Center for Developmental Disabilities Faith Learning Collaborative is an initiative that is born out of our deep commitment to wanting to make sure that families and children with intellectual and developmental disability have a place in society that is free of discrimination and exclusion experience. So this actually came about following a needs assessment that we have conducted.
Okay.
We did a needs assessment, and what we saw from that assessment was that many of our families are really struggling with being a part, full and active participants in their faith and worship spaces.
Okay.
Many families have actually stopped attending and participating in their places of worship as a result of exclusion experience. Some are struggling with finding low sensory spaces where their children can go and be a part of the community.
Okay, so take us a little step further, and can you talk a little bit about why sensitivity and awareness about the needs of the developmentally disabled in faith spaces are so important, especially in the midst of our current climate that we find ourselves in?
I'm going to start with citing the Americans with Disability Act.
Okay.
And we know quite well that the ADA fully supports full inclusion of people with disability in all spaces.
Yes.
Right? And our faith communities are among those spaces.
Absolutely.
It also looks at disability as a civil right.
Okay.
It is.
Yes.
And that means disability inclusion is a human right, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So when we think about our current space where we are in this era that we find ourselves, especially now that diversity and inclusion is critically being examined.
Yes, yes it is.
Not providing spaces for families and children with disability is really something that is going to lead to more experience of burden and pain and isolation for our family.
Have you found out of your work that faith spaces are not as sensitized to the needs of the developmentally disabled during worship services?
What our needs assessment tells us is that families does not feel welcome as they should in some faith spaces.
Okay.
And that our faith community leaders also tells us that they could benefit from training on how to effectively include our families in worship spaces.
Okay, so you're saying something really important. So it's not just about the individual or the child that is developmentally disabled, but this is really about the entire family and functioning in worship spaces in a way where they feel most included in whatever is going on,
Absolutely.
right? Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. So as you think about this, if you could pinpoint one major need for the FCLC initiative, what would it be?
Oh, huge. That's a lot. You can pinpoint one.
Okay, well, one or two.
providing targeted training to our faith community leaders is one. And also strengthening the relationship between our families and rebuilding trust amongst us is another. Why is there a need for it? What are we called to do? As humans, we are called to love.
Yes.
And to love unconditionally. We're also called to be kind and show compassion to one another. And our faith spaces is where those values are taught and lifted for us. And we must celebrate every single person among us. And that means people with disabilities and children and youth with disabilities themselves as well.
Yeah. So we serve all communities of faith across the state of Maryland. And, wherever you go, you might be in a church that has a certain structure where they consider their leaders to only be the senior clergy person. Other churches, other houses of worship, other faiths have other ways in which they define who the leader is, who a faith leader is. But in terms of this initiative, who is it that's able to participate in your program? Is it just clergy? Would it include faith leaders that may be lay leaders in houses of worship or in denominations or in faiths? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Any faith leader in the state of Maryland can participate.
Okay.
And we said faith leader, a layperson leader can also participate.
Okay.
However,
all right,
we want to make sure that your faith leaders are fully on board with it. Why do we say that? Because we're really taking a macro level approach for this.
Okay.
We don't want places of worship where you show up for training, because training doesn't translate into practice.
Right.
You have to put what you've learned into practice.
You sure do.
And when you go back, we want full support of those faith leaders in trying to translate learned, knowledge gained, skills and tools and resources provided can effectively be put into action.
Okay.
So anyone can participate.
Okay, that it's good to know. It's good to know because, this sounds like a program where you are saying that all hands kind of need to be on deck, that even if we have individuals who are seen as leaders in their houses of worship, if it doesn't start at the top, in terms of communicating the stronger awareness and sensitivities around the initiative that you're talking about, that it really is not connecting the way that it needs to.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
That's good to
know.
I
want to touch more on that because I know you quite well know that our faith communities have limited budget.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of them rely on volunteers. What tend to happen is that you could train a volunteer that actually move or has other commitment or switch worship spaces, and then that volunteer is no longer available to continue to lift that. But when we have faith leaders involved and they also participate in the training, then that can carry on even when we miss and lose people.
Yeah, very good point.
Right?
Very good point. So what has the experience been like for the faith leaders who have participated in the trainings? What's the feedback been that you've received?
It has been really fantastic. And I hate to say that, but we do have a small clip on our website that people can also watch and see and hear directly from the participants who've been a part of this.
Wonderful.
And one of the feedback is that one of their most exciting time in the training is hearing directly from family members of children with disabilities, their experience. And again, when you can hear the lived experience of someone, sometimes we just neglect the gift of subjective experience of a person. I always say that we are not object as a person. We're subject with experience. And that experience needs to be shared. And everybody's experience is unique. So hearing directly from family members and hearing directly from people with disabilities themselves is an eye-opening for our faith leaders. They were able to ask questions directly, and that actually helped them to begin to shift and rethink their ways, maybe their policies, their assumptions. That some of them say that, we thought that we are intentionally including families into our spaces. However, just reflecting back, it seems like some of the practices and policies that we have put in place may actually be creating barriers for some of our families.
Wow.
So this is now almost like going back and rethinking and shifting mindset and beginning to really think, what can I do to make space? What does an individual or family need if I'm planning an event?
Right.
If I'm structuring anything, if I'm running children ministry, whatever it is that I'm doing.
So to that point, so you have faith leaders that take this program, and I think is it a 2-day program?
It is a 2-day
program. So you've got the faith leaders that come in and take the program. They get all this wonderful information. They're able to hear straight from the individuals that are being affected by the lack of sensitivity in their houses of worship. And when it's done, what, if any, do you have, when they're done, when they finish their training, is there any additional support that they're able to glean or to get from you in your office? If, like you just said a few minutes ago about planning an event, let's say that this is their first time planning an event and they want to be sensitive to these specific needs, is your office able to help with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we call this a collaborative. For a reason.
Okay, all
it's
right.
a partnership, and it's an ongoing. So we continue to provide. We actually have a mini grant that we offer to faith leaders who've completed our training. They are able to apply. It's not a lot. We could
Every
use some
little bit
support with increasing that. But most of our faith leaders who have actually tapped into those mini grants are doing wonderful work in their faith spaces. A good example is some faith leaders have created what they call Sensory Sunday, where they use that mini fund to be able to buy noise-canceling headsets to help make sure that children with disabilities can show up and be present and participate. Some have actually used it to now hire sign language interpreters for their events, among other things. Wonderful. And we continue to partner with them and provide technical assistance as needed. We continue to meet with them. They can reach back out to us. It's an ongoing relationship because together we can.
So there's no cutoff once they go through the program?
Once you are in our program, that relationship continues, that support continues.
Okay. So tell us about this training, the 2-day training that you do. If you could break it down for us and let us know actually what faith leaders will be experiencing.
Yes, so the 2-day training is actually, we provide it using a curriculum that is developed with people with disabilities themselves, family members of children with disabilities, as well as faith leaders. This is the only way for us to ensure that the needs of people with disabilities are actually incorporated into what we are trying to do, into the efforts. And also the resources within our faith communities are also included. It is an in-person training. Yes, because we want people to be connected. It's about building community. It's about networking and connecting regardless of what faith type you come from. You can feel comfortable being in that space. We start off with needs and asset mapping on our first day. It's broken into 4 different parts. The first part and the second part that we cover on day 1, we provide tools and resources that our faith leaders can use to really do a full assessment of what they have, what their needs are, what their assets are, and who is, we talk about human capital. You can tap into that. Again, it's not always about the money, right?
Right.
Money is great. But when you don't have it, you can also do something about it.
You can do something, absolutely.
Yes. And then we also talk about challenges and solutions. We just don't want to talk only about challenges. Where faith leaders can talk about what are some of their experiences, what are things that they're struggling with. If he's a rabbi, he would talk about what he sees in his own synagogue. If he's an imam, he would talk about, his challenges in the mosque and how he can be able to bring his community together. It's an open dialogue. And then we also now segue into day 2. We talk about what we call Disability Etiquette 101. just the do and done, simple things that you can do and shift. And this training, they can actually take and go back and use those resources with even training other leaders within their faith communities.
Okay.
The goal. Okay, because we cannot reach everyone.
Right.
But when the leaders are involved, they can take that back and they can now implement. And of course, we're always there to supporting them. Now, you don't just learn that training and then implement it and you leave it. We want them to evaluate what they are doing. So we also talk about how do you evaluate what you're doing? Because those evaluation is going to also help you to see where are the gaps that I still need to fill. Right? What am I doing that I need to redo?
And they get this evaluation done in day 2 of this?
Yes, it's a training, yes.
Okay,
and we provide them with the resources on how to go about doing that as well.
Fantastic.
Because the goal is to equip them, provide them with the resources. They are leaders already. Some of this work they are doing. Now they have to be intentional in doing it.
Absolutely.
Because it's not automatic. Disability inclusion is not something that just happened. It takes intentional effort and thoughtful effort to really make sure that what you're thinking and what families are telling you are being listened to. And you can actually uphold that.
Okay. So it sounds like with most things that even with this this initiative that you have embarked upon, that you're helping faith leaders to understand that the little things are the big things, that we got to really do a better job of paying attention to the little things that we do or don't do to be more inclusive of a broader section of our communities that are participating.
Absolutely. I always say that as a community, when we come together to take purposeful action,
yes,
no matter how small, those ripples, those tiny ripples, they can have a huge impact.
Absolutely.
And seeing how small things like shifting attitude, because it's about attitudinal barrier. It's not just about environmental thing you have to do. Just changing a tiny bit of an attitude can make a world of a difference in how families and children with disability can feel like they belong.
Okay.
You know, you go and move from step to step. You start with awareness, and then you go to understanding. And when we raise this awareness, then people can actually yearn to want to increase their knowledge. Okay, how do I do this? How can I make my space more inclusive? That understanding is what leads you to now begin to say, okay, I need to really include our families. How do I do that? Now, inclusion alone, you don't want to stop there. You want to also make sure that you lead even your congregation member where families can feel accepted. You move, I've been included. Yes, I'm present. I can show up at the door.
Right.
But I want to feel accepted by everyone around me. When that acceptance happens, it's when that true feeling of belonging happens. Then the individual and the family can feel like, I am now a part of this space.
Okay.
I feel safe.
Okay.
I'm no longer excluded.
Are there differences between what's needed for a developmentally disabled child or youth versus an adult?
You know, sometimes when we think about it, every single person has a unique need. And the goal is to be able to ask questions, understand, and not generalize. Because now we're all, and I want to point back out to each one of us bring a special gift to our world. Children with disabilities or the adults with disabilities. I did point earlier on that when we think about loving each other and showing kindness, and how everybody understands this language of love and kindness, it's something that we have to show. It's a universal language that everybody understands, the old and the young. It's not about creating something special for families. It's about making your space inclusive.
And that's what I wanted you to emphasize here, because when you talk about inclusion and you talk about bringing people together in a way where everybody feels the love, it's not really about trying to set a particular subset of your congregation aside, but to bring them in so that they don't feel separated out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that's continuing that exclusion.
Yes.
And
maybe not even knowing it, doing it and not even knowing it.
Unintentionally doing practices.
Exactly.
And that comes to what our faith leaders did share. That when we unintentionally, we're trying to do things that may not necessarily be something that family wants. So when our families want to show up to their worship spaces, they want to show up at a time that they feel comfortable going. Not at the time that we say you have to come because this is the only time we can accommodate your needs.
And isn't that what we all want? We all want to be able to go to our house of worship when we want to go and not when somebody else is telling us to.
And sit where we want to sit.
Absolutely.
We don't have to sit in a corner. We can sit where we feel like. Because every day you wake up, you may want to sit in the front today. Tomorrow you may want to sit in the middle. The next day you want to sit in the back. So we want people to really feel, again, it's not about something special that we're creating. Make your space and inclusive. I always joke around and said, if you build a ramp, it's not only someone who has a cane or is using a wheelchair that can use that ramp. A new mom can use their stroller to get up on the same ramp.
Yeah.
A dad who is rolling a child can use that. Someone who just cannot break their ankle can use that. Even a delivery guy can also use the same ramp. That's what universal design is all about.
Yeah.
And when we talk about universal language that everybody understands, it's love and compassion.
I got you. Okay.
We got that.
Yeah, I do. You have so much passion about what you do, how you talk about it. Can you tell us what brought you to this work?
The deep commitment that we all share as human beings is to be a part of something that can create impact. I truly believe that every single one of us that is created in God's image and likeness deserve to be in a space that affirms who they are.
They do.
As a human being, everybody's worth and dignity should be respected and valued. And if we're not creating space where that can be lifted, I think we're doing a disservice to humanity in general.
Yes.
And our families, people with disability, when you meet a person with a disability, that's one of the greatest human beings you have come in contact with, but we take it for granted. It's a gift that surrounds all of us because each one of us brings something to the table.
Yes, we do.
We're asset to each other.
Say that again. We are.
We are assets to each other.
We are. Absolutely. Absolutely. No question about it. So you've been doing this work. It is I feel like it's part of the lifeblood of what you do amongst all of the other types of training that you do for Kennedy Krieger. Do you come to this particular initiative with anticipated outcomes and implications for the work that you do?
Absolutely.
Can you share some of those with us?
Everything has to have an outcome, what you're expected to get out of it.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's really to create and make our state a more vibrant place again, where we can cherish each other. And that gift that we have is the people with disability among us. So we expect that by training our faith leaders in this learning collaborative and providing them with this targeted training and structured ways that they can increase their skills and knowledge and resources and tap into their asset that truly exists. And that assets include people with disabilities among them that can be leaders. We hope that increased participation of people with disability can be seen. We also want to rebuild trust amongst not just our families, but also individuals with disability that have no longer trust their faith community and be in a space.
Okay.
Just think about it for a minute. How many people gather at places of worship every week in our world?
Oh, countless.
At temples, at synagogue, at mosque, at churches, we have hundreds and thousands of family that congregate in our faith communities with their children, with their families. When we talk about bringing our families together and lifting our families, that is an untapped space, our faith community, because everyone is gathered there, no matter your status, rich or poor. You're seated in the same space. Right? If we're able to really think about when we are cultivating values, when we're trying to lift and rebuild our families, you start there, because everybody shows up as to who they are. You show up, and we can cultivate love and kindness, help our kids learn how to be able to embrace all abilities around them, embrace people with disabilities.
Yeah.
They carry that from their faith space, from their family into schools, and as they get older, they carry that into their job spaces, and they make space for everyone that affirms all abilities.
So thank you for that. So with the individuals, the clergy who have come through your program, you mentioned that some of them have received grant monies to do some work in their houses of worship. Are some of those examples available to the next group of faith leaders coming in to this initiative and to take this training?
Yes.
As an example of the kind of work. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It is not a whole lot, like I said, and we're seeking some support for your office.
Absolutely.
And
that's why we're
get
here.
it into supporting that. Yes, those are opportunities that are available. And also just building that relationship also. Because it doesn't, again, stop with just showing up and taking the training and going back.
Right.
Right? Again, training doesn't translate into practice. We have to be able to make sure that those relationship continues, because together we create impact.
And we are already bonding and partnering here, Dr. Ofonedu, because when we talked previously, you were sharing about the desire to have the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives acknowledge those faith leaders that have taken the program. And so I am here to let you know that we are on it. You all will get the certificates so that the faith leaders that have already participated can know that Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller and the Moore-Miller administration are really looking at the work that you're doing and want to amplify it so that others across Maryland in our faith communities know about the work and can tap into the work that you do.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And through this, because this is actually one of those signs that can actually help faith leaders know that they have the support of the governor's office and their dedicated effort in continuing to lift and uplift and include and make their places of worship more inclusive is something that is appreciated.
Well, we are happy to do it. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve. So I know that when people see this time of chatting that we have done today, I know that they're going to want to know how to get in touch with you. How can they be a part of the program? How can they participate in this faith initiative that you're leading?
Oh, for more information, I can just kind of let them know there is our website, which is kennedykrieger.org/faith, and you can also email us at training.mcdd.org. And if you don't have an email and you would prefer to talk to us, you can call us by phone at 443-923-4114. And there is a form on our website and lots of resources on our website, actually, that faith leaders can freely tap into as well. And they can hear from other faith leaders who have participated in the training as well.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. This has just been so wonderful, and I'm so appreciative of your time today. Dr. Mirian Ofonedu, you have just been wonderful. But before we go, tell me this. Is there anything else that you want our audience to know about you, about the work that you're doing, about Kennedy Krieger?
And we are here on behalf of families and children with disability. The work that we do is the work that we do together with them, not for them.
Love it.
We do it with them. It's a difference, right? And that dedicated effort and the mindset that our families, the knowledge that they bring to us is what drives the work of Kennedy Krieger Institute. It's about our families. It's about our children. It's about working together. but we can't do it alone. So I'm really calling on everyone to think about working together with each other to make our world a better place. We have to collaborate.
We do.
And you can't do it in silos. And you can't do it without the voices of those who have been marginalized. You can't do it without the voices of people with disabilities.
No, you can't. It takes everybody.
It does take everybody.
It does.
And they should be at that table. They are the table, actually.
Yes.
We're just the chair. They talk us in.
Well, you certainly are a part of Governor Moore's top priority of making Maryland the best state of service in the nation that it can be. Dr. Ofonedu, I want to thank you so much for your time today. And I am Dr. Lora Hargrove, Director of Faith Outreach for the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, and you have just experienced our very first Faith Spotlight. We hope that you enjoyed, and we hope that you come back for those that are coming after this one. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.